Somewhere out in the void of space lies a small rocky planet of Lineaus. Millions of years ago, some unknown force brought life here. It seeded the world with salmon, green iguanas, and various kinds of vegetation, and life thrived in this new environment. Each of the creatures and the plants that lived alongside them took on new forms and built Lineaus from a simple seed world to a teeming ecosystem. The first era of Lineaus was called the Eruptogene, and then an asteroid struck the planet's north pole, melting its ice caps and turning Lineaus into a hothouse. Simultaneously, the continents began to shift and run beneath the animal's feet, and thus began the Eruptogene. The planet of Lineaus has undergone tremendous changes since the asteroid strike. As you can see, most of the ice caps at the poles have now melted. They are still present, but they don't cover as much of the planet as they once had. And the southern continents of Eurasia and Maastrichtia have converged together. The new supercontinent, called Maastricht-Eurasia, is a landscape of vast, muggy swamps and tall, jagged mountain ranges. Let us venture into one of the forests of Maastricht-Eurasia and see just how life has adapted to the Eruptogene. A flightless descendant of the honeybee scuttles along an exposed tree root. The tiny insect is then snatched. This is a clouded iguana, an animal that has been unchanged since its ancestors first came to Lineaus, aside from its new cryptic color patterns which allow it to hide, nearly unseen in the underbrush. But the clouded iguana is forced to run away as another colossal creature makes its way through the forest. This is a Colossosaurus. The Colossosaurus have evolved in a similar fashion to sauropods, although they are not nearly as big as their legs aren't held directly under their body, or at least not yet. The Colossosaurus is nearly as tall as a giraffe and matches its weight. But there's another interesting quirk about the Colossosaurus's biology. It and the other enormous sauropod-like iguanas on Lineaus have evolved an interesting morphology when it comes to communication. Large air sacs and chambers throughout the animal's nasal cavity and throat create a loud resonating chamber that allow these animals to communicate across vast distances. Let's take a listen. Staying on Maastricht-Eurasia, but leaving the forests in favor of grasslands, a predator hunts. The iguana raptor stalks in the tall grass, nearly invisible to even the most alert of prey. The iguana raptor's legs are still held off to the side, like its ancestors. So although it can't run very far, it has surprising speed at short distances. The predator is stalking a herd of iguanalopes, animals which, similar to it, still have the squat legs of their ancestors. Except the iguanalopes have the advantage of their legs being gangly and long, allowing them to hop like rabbits over the tall grass so that they can escape predators. The carnivore erupts from the grass, chasing the herd of iguanalopes. The tail comes loose, and the iguanalope runs free. The iguanalope's tail will grow back, although at a stumpier length and with a significant portion of its strength removed. The iguana raptor will feed on the severed tail, but will soon have to hunt again. As we move to the west, we can find new strange beasts battling for dominance. These two Ceratocephalosaurus have evolved as a strange mixture of ceratopsians and rhinoceros iguanas. These two males have locked horns and participate in violent shoving matches to earn the right to mate with the females of their species. The female Ceratocephalosaurus, although quite large, being nearly 300 pounds, are dwarfed by the males. In the far south of the young supercontinent, a Pachyceratosaurus fights for its life against carnivores. This mother Pachyceratosaurus and the predators that hunt her are the largest members of their respective lineages on Linnaeus. These Dinodontosaurus have followed her for days. They normally live solitary lives, but to take down large and dangerous prey like this, they will have to work together. But they may not have to kill the mother Pachyceratosaurus, as she guards a single calf. The calf may not be able to provide food for the carnivores for long, but it will be something. In the background, an Iguana marches onwards to the breeding grounds, where it will encounter other Iguana to mate with. In the far background, a mountain, partially obscured by thick clouds. It appears to be a floating obelisk of ice and rock, staring down at the reptiles. We cross the sea to the southern shores of Cenomania. Here we see a Xenosuchus, a descendant of the iguanas that started to live more of their lives in the water. These aquatic iguanas have swam across the sea and now inhabit the oceans and the shores of both the young supercontinent and Cenomania. This mother Potamosaurus attempts to defend her young with her spiked tail, but the Xenosuchus has already grabbed the youngster and will soon retreat back into the water. These Potamosaurus are normally found in freshwater ecosystems, but in the last few thousand years have been venturing farther and farther to the shore, and as we can see now, into salt water. These Potamosaurus were feeding on the seagrass, but alas, now they are being fed on themselves. Moving far, far inland of Cenomania, we see a tranquil forest scene. Overhead fly some members of the Dracomymis family. Descendants of the leaping lizard, they have evolved powerful wing flapping muscles and thin membranes made of skin to allow short flight. Although these Dracomymis aren't very good at flight, they will soon adapt and evolve to be able to cross great distances on their wing. As we can see in this picture, there are two species of the Dracomymis family present. It seems that flying vertebrates are a niche that can be expanded and explored upon by the lizards. And here we see a very small and distant relative of the Varanomymis. This animal, called Nanovaranus, lacks the venom of its ancient cousins. Its spikes are in great number and are thin and quill-like. These derived Varanomymids will be a lineage to look out for as we continue the story of Linnaeus. Our last scene takes place on the far northern shores of Cenomania. The air is dry and cold, and a washed-up giant salmon has been brought ashore and is nearly fully rotted away. The animal is nearly unrecognizable and is what people on Earth would call a globster. But two other animals are present as well, neither one of them in as near a state of decomposition as the giant salmon. One of which being another diminutive relative of the Varanomymis. Like its cousin the Nanovaranus, the Aquilovaranus is a small fox-like creature of equal size and niche. The Aquilovaranus's spines have fully transitioned into sharp needle-like quills. However, it runs away from the absolute banquet of the rotting fish due to this region's apex predator. The Arctomimosaurus is another relative of the beaked iguanas, except this creature uses its beak to kill other reptiles. Although today it will use its beak to process the giant salmon. These beaked predatory lizards will soon be extinct, however, as Cenomania is moving north, and thus they will be frozen out by the changing climate. And that concludes the first video on the Eruptogene. This is between 16 to 30 million years of Linnaeus's seeding, and if you have any suggestions on creatures that you think would evolve and or actual scientific names for these clades, let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you enjoyed this video, and have a fantastic day.